What was your go-to way of making money as a kid or teen, and how did you actually find the work?
My go-to way of making money was through my father and his brothers. All of them were bricklayers, and I worked as a laborer. And that meant that mixed mortar and made mortar mix so that it would be the mortar mix that they laid between the bricks. And I had to supply them of bricks. So all they had to do was reach for the mortar and the bricks. And I made $1 per pound.
Wow. $1 an hour? Okay.
Yes.
How did I make money as a kid?
Uh-huh.
Well, I had an allowance and I did things around the house because my mother was 5 feet tall. I had to help with laundry, especially hanging up things on the line, hanging curtains. Extra money was to scrub the wax off the floors when she wanted to re-wax them,
Oh, wow.
dyeing the curtains in the tub when she wanted to change the color. Because she taught home ec, and so she was really into home decorating. So we changed colors of the curtains and the spreads every couple months.
Oh, wow, every couple months. Wow.
Yeah. So that was worth every 50 cents I got.
Okay. 50 cents. We are raking in the money. All right.
Well, I had lots of jobs, right? So in the wintertime, shovel snow. During the summer, did the yards. My first official job, I would say, was having a paper route where we delivered papers to all the people who collect the money. We got a percentage of that. So that was my first official job. And I had that job for probably 6 or 7 years. So I earned quite reasonably well because I was able to buy 3 cars off of that paper route.
Nice.
First job was part of the paper route crew. My role in that squad was to help with the Sunday collection money. And I had my tactics of getting people to pay their money. One of those tactics was to flip open the mailbox on the door and yell, collect!
You were so little.
They couldn't get mad at me because I was, too young for that. Also little.
Yes.
But I think I made like $5 a week was my cut. But being so young, that was like bank. I was happy about that. But then my real, more official job, the first one I got was when I was 14 at Baskin Robbins, making a whole $3.25 an hour. And that was an experience.
Tell them how you got that job. You remember?
We know.
The woman said she gave you some money and said it costs such and such. Count me back change. And you did. And she says you're hired.
She was so impressed.
That's awesome.
I'm like, it's math. But she wanted to make sure that you know how to count back change without relying on the cash register. So that got me in. And then, so I did that for a summer.
I had evolutions. I don't know how to leave. I had evolutions. So elementary school, I still had access to penny candy stores. So I used to go get like chews and Tootsie Rolls for like a nickel and then sell them for a dime. And then we would make little baggies of like Kool-Aid with sugar in it, and we would sell that. After that, my first job was I had a sales paper route where I used to bag up the sales paper and put them on people's doors. Then asked for a lawnmower for my birthday around 12 or 13. And I went around cutting grass. And I got my first job as a golf caddy.
So the golf caddy?
I was a golf caddy, first job, 14.
So I got my first. So I actually been working since I was 14. I just wanted to make my own money as soon as possible. As soon as I hit high school, that's when I started finding a job. Jimmy John's. That was my first job. Jimmy John's. I worked there for a couple months, and then when I turned 16, I got a job at McDonald's. And I worked there for about 4 years.
All right, you got some hardworking folks today. Hey, and welcome back to the Yay for Adulting podcast. I'm your host, Lisa, and today we're discussing part 1 of our Back in My Day summer and part-time jobs episode. I'm joined by 4 different generations.
Mom, and I'm Boomer.
And my name is Albert, and I am a boomer.
John, Gen X.
I'm Shannon, Gen X.
Joe, the millennial.
Justin, Gen Z.
All right, welcome everybody. Now let's get into it. So getting the job was one thing. Keeping it or getting the next one required a completely different skill set. There weren't any reviews, no online presence, thank goodness, for me anyway. Your reputation was really just your neighborhood, maybe some teachers, maybe someone who babysat you, and knowing you were the reliable one that people would call back. Today, a lot of that seems to just be likes and follows and relying on algorithm. So the question for the group, how did you build a reputation as someone that people wanted to hire or buy something from? And how is that different from how things work now?
Well, I was a Girl Scout and I worked for Junior Achievement. So the people that I had to sell cookies to and to sell my broom and mop holders from that we made Junior Achievement or get rid of kittens were people in my neighborhood. I lived in a Black neighborhood and everybody knew everybody. So when I had something to sell, they knew I was going to show up and pretty much bought it. So we had a good network and we would buy from other kids that would be selling things too.
Well, I think back during my day, it was trust. Well, there was trust in the environment. There was trust in the neighborhood. You know, if someone borrowed something from you, you trust that they would bring it back the way they took it. And that was how I used that in customers I had, such as cutting their grass, watching their cars, mowing their lawn. They could depend on me. They could depend on that their car, if I watched it, it's going to be spick and span. People in my neighborhood brought their car, shoes to be shined to my house. That's when I knew I had made it big, working from home.
For me, it's just like doing the job right. Like he was stated, they built trust. You had to you had to earn it. Nobody gave you anything. You had to earn the trust from your customers. I had several reputations in the neighborhood, right? One of them was I used to always help people with their homework because I was the smart kid in the neighborhood. So I built trust that way, helping people with their homework. And then, again, just always showing up when I said I was going to, doing the paper routes and stuff, always delivering on time, showing up every day. There was no sick days back then. So even if you really were sick, that the job was outside anyway. So you had to go deliver your papers. Wasn't nobody doing it for you. Wasn't anybody going to do your route for you. So you had to show up. And that's how you built your trust and your reputation, showing up, doing a great job. And that's how you built your reputation.
Yeah, and word of mouth was important too. For example, with babysitting, if one family would hire you out because they knew mom and dad or somebody, but they would pass that along if you did a good job, and then you would kind of build your babysitting network and get more clients that way if you did a good job. But another thing I remember is getting letters of reference. And I remember building my high school portfolio and having people write actual letters that I would put in the folder, basically vouching for, the good things that you've done and blah, blah, blah. So that was one way. And then even with getting jobs, you had to have references. I think they may ask for them, but I remember back in the day, they used to really follow through. They would call, they would want to see that reference letter. That was important. And so you had to, in order to get those good letters of reference, you would have to do, already have a good, strong reputation. So that's what I remember back in my day.
Things were a little different for me growing up in Detroit, but we moved around a lot. So I never was able to like build a reputation in one spot before I had to go somewhere else. So as far as work ethic would go, I was just like they said, just show up. As far as raking leaves and shoveling snow, and growing up in the late early 2000s, I think community was more fractured than it had ever been before. So it wasn't like I had a bunch of the neighbors like, hey, can your kid come cut the grass or whatever. The only consistent thing I did was shovel snow for the Coney Island across the street from my grandmother's house. And just the fact that I would go over there every time it snowed and I would get the job done properly, it was always easy for me to say, hey, I want to come shovel you guys the snow. So the overall thing about building a good reputation would just be to show up, present yourself the way you want to be seen, and complete whatever task to the best of your ability. And you always get a call back. And in order to get a good reputation, you got to present yourself well on a consistent basis. First impressions matter, but the consistency is what builds your reputation.
Yeah, so as far as work ethic, kind of like what Joelle said, like, showing up every day, working hard, be there, do my work, be a good example to the like new people that might come. Because like I said, I've been I was at McDonald's for 4 years, like, because it's that loyalty. I'll say that loyalty. You have to show that I have to show that I want to be there, in order to like get raised.
So making money is one thing, but what it means to actually have it and be stacked or have cheddar, as well, I don't know if the kids say that anymore, is a whole different conversation. Whether it felt like freedom, responsibility, or just survival, and whether it was cash in your hand or a number in an app, having your own money for the first time usually feels pretty good. So here's the question. What did earning your own money actually feel like to you?
Well, it gave me a sense of power. I felt like I never had to ask a person for something that I could do for myself. And that's what money did to me.
I got an allowance, and because I wore uniforms every day from kindergarten through 12th grade, and Oxford shoes, I didn't buy clothes, I didn't buy shoes, I didn't wear makeup. So I had an allowance. And one day my dad gave me my allowance and he saw me put it in an envelope and he said, why am I giving you money? You save it and you never spend it. But the only thing I bought a record every now and then because I had a little record player. But that felt good not to have to ask for money when I wanted to get something that I wanted.
I would say freedom, a little bit freedom, just having your own, not having to ask, and just being able to spend what you wanted on within, reason, because it also taught responsibility. How if it's then and the value of the dollar. If it's your money, I want those Nikes. If it's my money, Pro Wings are just fine. So you learn to balance your wants and your needs. But I do remember when I was working at Westmore Fruit Market, I was making I think by the time I almost graduated from high school, I was making $4.75. And then that summer I graduated, I got an internship at Ford and I was making $12 an hour.
What?
Man, I was getting my hair done every week, getting my nails done. I was like, okay, I thought I was living the big life, but I didn't have any like real bills. But it did, I did get some life lessons. Making my own money and learning what's important, what you want to spend your money on at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Learning the value of money is, yeah.
growing up, how I grew up with so many people in the household. If you didn't earn your money, you wasn't gonna have anything. You wasn't gonna like. I didn't want pro ring, so I had to go out and make some money to not wear pro wings and be sliding across the playing basketball, sliding across the cement or sliding across the basketball court. So, and you wanted some donuts, you wanted some, our food wasn't the best food. You wanted some Coney Island. You wanted you wanted some penny candy. You wanted to go to the arcade. You had to earn your own money. There was no family money to get those things. So you wanted a video game, whatever you wanted, you had to earn it in our household and go buy it yourself. And I learned the value of money just, doing, usually spending most of the money I earned, of course, getting those things. But you learn the value of money early, young.
Yeah.
Back in our day, because once your money was gone, you wasn't getting any from your parents. So you had to usually go out and earn some more money. One time I made a mistake of gambling with some older kids. So I gambled my $25 a week, and it was literally in like less than an hour. And that's why I don't really gamble today. Like, I learned a life lesson real early. Like, took my whole week. I worked the whole week and just give it to them. And they might have been working together to take my little $25.
That's a lot of money. That was a lot of money back.
Yeah, back then in the late 80s, shoot, $25, you go long way. So I would say, just as I said, we had to buy our own cars, we had to buy our own stuff. So in my household, so you had to earn your own money.
Yeah, I think me and John have similar experiences. It wasn't no family money for activities or cosmetic things or toys and stuff like that. So, and as a millennial, we still had arcades available. Like, kids still hung out at the mall and stuff like that. So I want to go see a movie or catch the bus somewhere or go to an arcade, I had to figure out a way to make money. If I wanted junk food from the store, I had to figure out a way to, because my mother was not just like, oh, here's $10, go to the store and get what you want. It was never that kind of vibe. And grow up with, what y'all call them, pro wings? We had British nights, and I didn't like British nights either. So yeah, I think it was the same thing. I wanted certain things. I loved playing video games. I like going to the arcade, going to see movies, and I knew early on that I had to go and figure out a way to have funds for that. There was one small period of time during when I had my paper route where I would use most of my money to help my mom with the bills because we had just bought a house. But after that, other than that, everything else was cosmetic. I would take my brother and sister, I would take them skating every weekend and stuff like that. So just the freedom for me was the first thing I felt. I didn't learn responsibility till way later in life, late 20s. I start being responsible in my late 20s. But yeah, just that freedom is what fueled my work ethic. I think that even though I didn't learn the full responsibility of money, just the work ethic that I built up, just enjoying that freedom allowed me to make the mistakes so I could learn those lessons later on.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I remember when I was little, I wanted a $5 bill for the first time. So when I finally got it, I was able to. I felt like I could just do what I want. I felt like I was rich actually when I got it. But I wanted to work as soon as possible. So when I first got my job at Jimmy John, I got my first check. It felt good. I felt like I could pretty much buy whatever I want. Like Joel said, like go to the movies, go out with friends. I didn't have to ask my parents because honestly, I still don't like doing that, asking people for money, asking my parents for money. So like that's how I've been working ever since I was 14, just so I can like be more independent, do things, start doing things for myself, and then going to now.
Wait, that I had your first card or you had your license.
Oh yeah, saving up for my first car. Like I think it took me like, but yep, independence.
All right, and that's a wrap on part 1 of Back in My Day, Summer and Part-Time Jobs. We talked about our first jobs, how we built our reputations and word of mouth resumes, and what it actually felt like to earn our own money. In part 2, we're getting into what we spent our hard earned money on, whether or not our parents made working mandatory, and what making money as a kid looks like nowadays. See you there. And remember, progress over perfection.